All right, guys, welcome. Welcome to Excel Mind Cyber Training. And today we're talking about supply chain risk management. So, first of all, who am I? Who will be handling this session? And by name Joseph. And I have extensive background in IT auditing, risk management, vulnerability assessments, and so on. So, during the course of our program this evening, our session, I would like you to feel free to express yourself. Any point you don't understand, be free to call me back to it so that we can explain and I can explain so we will be able to learn better. I'm so excited to be with you on this journey as you become a professional. Quick icebreaker. What do you think? Are rules meant to be kept or broken? And why? So take a moment and give me your reply in the chat box. I want to see where you stand. Are rules meant to be broken or kept? So quickly, let's get it done. All right, now over to our objectives for this session. Want to understand all about supply chain risk management, the what, the why, and the how. We need to understand what it is, why we have a need for supply chain risk management. Also, how we implement supply chain risk management. So I believe you're all with me. Risk management, we hear risk management every day. What is risk management? It's simply a systematic process of identifying, of assessing, of prioritizing, and mitigating risk to an organization or a project. So it is the systematic process of mitigating, assessing, and identifying risk by an organization. Now, a subset of risk management is the supply chain risk management. Supply chain has to deal with how a product, from the beginning of the life cycle of a product to the end, till it gets to the customer, the final consumer, how the product is being handled. That's what supply chain is. However, today we'll be looking at the risk associated with what? An organization's supply chain management. The process of supply chain management is the process of identifying, assessing, and mitigating the risk of an organization's supply chain. In simple terms, what I'm saying is managing risk associated with all third-party hardware, third-party software, and third-party services to an organization. Now, why? Why do we need supply chain risk management? So I want to highlight the goal of supply chain risk management is what? Is to identify, assess, and mitigate the risks, and to ensure, most importantly, to ensure a continuous and efficient flow of products and services. So to ensure a continuous and efficient flow of products and services, that is the goal of supply chain risk management. We can achieve it through looking into these various aspects: resilience and continuity. So we want to be sure that any company or any third party we are going into business with will be resilient, will be able to deliver on their expectation, on what we expect from them at any point in time, no matter the disruption that may happen, that may occur. So that is the goal of checking for resiliency. We also check for continuity. We have to be sure that the company we are entering into business with is not a company that will disappear tomorrow, that they are strong enough to carry out any activity or the desired service we need from them. We also check for compliance. Then Reputation management, believe it or not, this reputation management is very, very important in supply chain risk management, because you don't want to be associated with a company or a business that is fraudulent, that is not straightforward, that is not reliable. It's also important to gain customer satisfaction, to maintain supplier relationships. Also, for data and information security. Just a little background story. In 2017, there was a famous or a very popular hack that happened in Ukraine. A software company, the software company by name Medoc, their products, one of their software was used for tax accounting, in the financial sector, in the finance sector. That's where their software was usually deployed. So in 2017, they fell a victim to a cyber attack. And this type of attack capitalized on on the updates the company expected to push out to their customers. The attackers injected malicious code into their updates. And in the content of the malicious code was ransomware. So as soon as the Medoc company sent out updates to their software, everybody that downloaded the software was infected with the ransomware. So more like, as soon as you downloaded the software, your system, your data was locked by the ransomware, and they will demand you to pay some compensation before your data can be unlocked. It was such a devastating attack because the government also used the software. Reputable firms inside and outside of Ukraine also used the software. So you see that organizations, you see why it's important to check for supply chain risk management, because the company you're working with, you want to be sure that they are doing their due diligence to ensure proper security of all their services and the services they are rendering to you. Now, how? Let's answer the question of how. How do we carry out this supply chain risk management? Sorry, let me clean up the screen. How do we carry out supply chain risk management? There are two important documents every organization should endeavor to have. First of all, the MSR, the minimum security requirements. It should be detailed that any third party that wants to do business with you has to meet up with these minimum security requirements. They have to meet up with it so that it gives you a level of assurance that the third party you're about doing business with or you're doing business with takes security serious. Also, we talk about the SLA, the service level agreements, the agreements that defines the rules of the two parties in a transaction. Let's say, for example, you want to migrate to the cloud. Let's say AWS or Azure, any of the cloud service providers. You enter into an agreement with them, and in that agreement, they specify their availability hours, the time you need them to be available, and the most important, some organizations that need to be compliant with some data residency laws also specify it in the service level agreement that they don't need their data to be processed in another country or in another location, geographical location, and so on. So this service level agreement is an agreement that helps also give you another level of assurance that the organization you're working with, the third party you're business partnering with, will live up to their expectation. Now, generally, to help organizations carry out this supply chain risk management, there are frameworks or best practices for carrying out this risk management. So I'm going to list some of the frameworks we have. Sorry, let me clean up the screen. Okay, so some of the frameworks we have is we have ISO 28000 supply chain and supply chain security management. We have NIST IR 7622 National Supply Chain Risk Management Practices for Federal Information System by NIST, NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, and then also UK NCSC, the principles, actually 12 principles of supply chain risk. So let's just get a high level view of these standards. So ISO 28000, the 2007 revision, it divided the risk management phases into 4. The planning phase, the do phase. So you hear this acronym, PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act. So in the planning phase, it's all about your what? Your scoping. You do your risk assessments and so on. That's in the planning phase. Then in the do phase, what you do there is what? You design controls to mitigate the risk you found during your risk assessment. And you also carry out your implementation of controls and so on. Then in the check phase, all you have to do, most importantly, is what? Your auditing, your monitoring, to ensure that the controls and the procedures you established in the do phase is being implemented and is working as intended. Then the final stage, the act. This is a very proactive framework, the act phase, where you treat what? The exceptions, and most importantly, you continue to improve, continuous improvement. That is just a high level overview of the ISO 28000. So the next one we'll be looking at is let's quickly glance through the NCSC principles of supply chain security. It's actually 12 principles, but the 12 principles are divided up into 4 main areas, just like the ISO standard. This understand risk, same things involved. Understand what needs to be protected and everything. Then, secondly, you establish controls. You establish controls for what? For the risk you've identified. Then, thirdly, you check your arrangements. This one is also a very proactive framework in the sense that it expects you to build in activities to ensure that the controls you established at number 2 is being implemented here. So it's just your checks, your auditing. Then finally, the 4th level, that's your continuous improvement. Continuous improvement of the security process. So that is a high-level view of the NCSC principles of supply chain security. So we're almost coming to the end of this session. In conclusion, we've understood what supply chain risk management is, why we do it, how we are able to conduct supply chain risk management through the help of some frameworks. So the organization can choose certain frameworks they will want to work with. Any of the 3 or even more that I did not list, they can choose anyone they want to work with. So that's it for an introduction to supply chain risk management. Now, time for you to ask your questions. And any special points we need to discuss, bring it up now. So, in the absence of that, thank you for joining us in today's session. Hope you'll join us next time. Do have a lovely evening.